Hi, I'm Dave Moody, host of SiriusXM Speedway on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, Channel 90. And for reasons that can only be guessed at, you're listening to Jack Harute's Wind Tunnel.
Welcome to this week's Wind Tunnel. Now, last weekend's racing action had a little something for everyone. Grudges, redemption, redirection, and first victories. The Independence Day weekend had that and much, much more. So let's start our update with Lenny Baticki's short track report for NASCAR's Advance Auto Parts Weekly Series tracks.
Thanks a lot, Jack. This is your NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series report. We'll start out with the big one at South Boston, Virginia. Corey Heim getting that win. Matt Carter, a winner at Langley Speedway. Limaland Motorsports Park, where Todd Sherman parked it in victory lane. Joe Lambrosiano, victorious at Irwindale Speedway in California. Idaho's Magic Valley Speedway goes to Jonathan Gomez. Justin Wagner, a winner at Rockford, Illinois. Tucson, Arizona to Bill Engel. Up in New Hampshire at Monadnock, it was Matthew Kimball, Ryan Green, and Jimmy Renfrew Jr. splitting the wins at Lee USA, and Ricky Bly gets another win at Claremont. Alaska Raceway Park to Brian Barber, Berlin Raceway in Michigan to Blake Rowe. Dan Fredrickson sees the checkers first at La Crosse Fairgrounds in Wisconsin, while Brock Zerfoss does the same at Cedar Lake. Central Missouri Speedway to Terry Schultz, Davey Hamilton Jr. in victory lane at Colorado National. Coos Bay in Oregon to Wayne Butler. Up in Canada at Sunset Speedway, it was Dustin Momburkett getting the win. Elko Speedway in Minnesota, Steve Anderson Jr. and Brian Rolstead split the wins. Olivia Murray victorious at Florence Motor Speedway in South Carolina. Jennerstown, Pennsylvania, Casey Flegel got a pair of wins on the weekend. And Ed Griggs victorious at Lakeside Speedway in Kansas. That's your NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series report. We'll see you next time, Jack.
On Saturday, 19-year-old Ty Gibbs took the Xfinity honors at Road America using a late race pass to score yet another road course victory.
Ty Gibbs, an amazing pass on the 17 of Kyle Larson, and he's holding him off. The final turn. Ty Gibbs up the hill. And an amazing run for Ty Gibbs. He's going to win at Road America.
But it was what happened during the course of the race between Noah Gragson and Sage Karam that got everybody's attention.
No. Slammed into the side of him, and he spins Sage Karam into the wall.
So much damage. Look at all these cars. And some cars rolled away with significant damage as well. And then they go into this corner and contact again. And now, see this contact, they're banging into each other off the racetrack. And now Noah, I don't know if he had a mechanical issue or just hung a right in frustration. And that started this massive crash behind them.
13 involved in this wreck. Let's hear from Noah Gragson.
Noah Gragson was part of that incident on lap 25. And Sage Karam, after he got out of the race, wasn't very complimentary of you. Said you drove right into him. What's your take on what happened?
Yeah, I mean, I guess he forgot the 3 times he would throw it off in the corner, door us, and run us off the racetrack. So eventually you get sick and tired of it. I hate people's stuff got torn up, but I mean, 3 times is a bit ridiculous just today, and then not including the past. So I take responsibility. I hate it for his guys, but we're fighting to race for a championship here, and just really over getting run over. So
that night at the Stafford Motor Speedway, it was time for another Superstar Racing Saturday night, and the winner was retired NASCAR driver Ryan Newman.
They bump, they bang, side by side for the race lead to turn 1. Ryan Newman goes underneath Andretti. Can Marco cross over back? Newman gets away. Ryan Newman is 1 lap away from a win at Stafford. The 44-year-old from South Bend, Indiana, brings the fans to their feet. The checkered flag waves tonight over Ryan Newman, a Superstar Racing Experience winner at Stafford.
A year ago, he watched SRX at home on television, knew he wanted to get in this series and take home a trophy. I've been a part of many victory lanes that are special, but seeing the tears on your two daughters' eyes, knowing what this night means to you. Can you even put into words?
No, I can't. This is so special. I got to thank everybody at SRX for this opportunity. Camping World, Sun Outdoors, all the fans for coming out. To have these two girls right here, nobody knows what that means to me. So I got choked up the last couple laps, and then seeing their smile on their face just kind of took the tears away. But they're still there. It's so special, and so proud to be a part of driving with the best drivers in the world, and to be victorious is extremely special. So
Sunday's action started with IndyCar's annual appearance at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And Team Penske's Scott McLaughlin backed up his season opening win at St. Pete with a victory on the Ohio racetrack.
How about this? Scott McLaughlin, back-to-back wins for the captain in successive years here, but it's a first for McLaughlin at Mid-Ohio. With mum and dad on site to witness their son's victory here in Ohio.
Nice drive there, dude. Just like St. Pete, same guy, did the same thing. You crushed it. Proud of you, bud. Thank you, guys.
Amazing. I really wanted to get a win here with mum and dad, and to have mum and dad here was super special. And America's weekend, last night I was dressed up as a blow-up eagle, so maybe I need to do that every July 4th weekend.
Later that afternoon, Richard Childress Racing's Tyler Reddick finally broke the door down and captured his very first NASCAR Cup career win.
There's a lot of members on my team that have been racing in the Cup Series, racing in NASCAR for a very long time, and haven't won a race either. And so it's just not just a huge sense of relief for me, it's a huge sense of relief for this entire team, for RCR, because the effort and the time and just how close we've been most of the year, and to not get it done is very tough. But, going through tough times makes tough people get through the tough times. And, we were able to do that today and persevere and come out on top.
With all of that, you're now up to date. So let's crank up this wind tunnel.
You're entering the wind tunnel. No spin, no bull, just Jack. Wind Tunnel is brought to you by Advance Auto Parts, the official auto parts retailer of NASCAR. Here's your host, Jack Harvey.
This week's guest list reflects all stages of a racer's career. Taking an Advance Auto Parts victory lap this week is a 14-year-old short tracker who jumped this season from Bandoleros at Larry Law's Langley Speedway into a full-bodied limited late model stock car. His name, Ryley Music. Ryley and I chat about that transition and the impact that his uncle has had on his development of racecraft, along with the relationship with Virginia late model ace Butterbean Queen. Rahal Letterman Lannigan Racing's IndyCar effort thus far this season has not panned out the way that most of us thought it would. The full-time addition of Christian Lungaard and veteran IndyCar ace Jack Harvey was thought to be a linchpin for the team. But so far, this season, that hasn't happened. I visit with Jack Harvey, and he will take you behind the curtain at RLL and share an honest and intimate assessment of the team's ongoing struggles. And finally, Team Penske Mustang driver Joey Logano drops in, and we cover a myriad of topics, from his penchant for winning on first-time venues to how marriage and fatherhood have affected his racecraft, to what he enjoys away from the track, his passion for old cars, and his impact on the TV media production industry with his Clutch Studios facility. Let's not delay any further, okay? Let's kick this episode into high gear. And we will do that after this timeout.
This week's guests are waiting in the wings, and you'll meet them coming up after the break.
Hey, car lovers. At Advance Auto Parts, we have what you need to keep your car running all season long. So if you enjoy getting ahead of the curve when it comes to taking care of your ride, Advance Auto Parts has everything to keep your ride on track to reach the victory lap. Because you can trust the team at Advance Auto Parts to assist you in finding what you need at the right price. Stop by Advance Auto Parts, where you're always number one.
This is how we advance.
Welcome back to your podcast home for motorsports conversation. Jack Harute's Wind Tunnel.
Jack Harvey with a great start up the inside. Tucks into second. Dixon's back to third already. Now Harvey going around the outside of Rosenquist. Jack Harvey with a super start. The pole sitter Rosenquist leads the way.
Well, joining us inside the wind tunnel at this time is an old friend, a fellow that actually was in some of the early episodes of the wind tunnel. He's the pride and joy of Great Britain and the United Kingdom, but more importantly, an avid collector of everything and anything that might be Star Wars, specifically Star Cruisers. Our buddy Jack Harvey. All right, Harvey, first of all, before we talk about your racing, I need to know about your collection, Star Wars collection. Any new additions?
Oh, man, I'm always adding to stuff. Like, one of the things I've started doing as well, quite heavily, is collecting die-cast cars. Some IndyCars, some NASCARs, things like that, some sprint cars, just for fun. So clearly, you need to. I thought I already had a pretty extensive hobby in this IndyCar lark that we do, but somehow I've done it. I'm trying to think. What's the last cool thing I got for my Star Wars collection was a original Lego Death Star. I got a kind of a good deal on it, so I was thinking whether, I don't know, to flip it or whether to keep it,
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize collectibles. It's like investing in the commodities market. Can you ever really afford to get close to one? Because someone with the right price may come knocking on your door.
I think it's always this is not how I thought the conversation was going to go, by the way. But I love it.
Neither did I.
But I love it.
What the heck, right?
Yes. Yeah. Man, some of the new stuff, like, you could probably get away with, but like anything that's kind of been retired or old, I mean, it is a commodity because obviously they're not making any more of it. And I saw an article about 2 years ago at the time that said Lego was a better investment than gold. And I love Lego from when I was a kid and stuff like that. So I, in a little bit of my spare time, did a little bit of research on just stuff. I wrote a list out of the ones I wanted to get, and now I'm just working my way through them.
All right. Before this interview goes totally sideways, the next thing we get into is skeet shooting and adages like that. Let's focus on your career in IndyCar right now. I think it would be safe to say that maybe the performance of Rahal, Letterman, Lannigan racing came not only for you but for everybody else on the team unexpectedly underachieving so far. Is that a safe way to put it?
I would say that's a very safe, pretty kind way of putting it, to be honest, mate. Yeah, it's been a really frustrating year, and honestly, just a lot of like shock and confusion, really, because the performances that the team have had have always been pretty strong, in all fairness, because you would never have wanted to make that change if you didn't believe that you were not necessarily making an upgrade, but you were confident that, for me anyway, for what I felt like I needed, it was going to be an improvement. And you look at the general performance of the team, and it's been a really rough go of it, and even talking to Graham and whatnot. I mean, I think it's been what he says. He feels like his worst season in a long, long time as well. So
how, Jack, especially having a go-to guy like Graham, and let's not forget, it's a 3-car team. You three as drivers, you're the pilots, pure and simple. But you need the Star Cruiser to be able to get it done. And that seems to be, for the most part, where things are lacking. So when you three come together, quite honestly, just as drivers, do you have a sense of direction of maybe things that you might have to do differently, or any way that you think that maybe you could jumpstart this thing to progress in a forward motion rather than the side widener motion that it seems to be in? Because, man, you guys have experienced some really crazy stuff.
Yeah, we have. I mean, between me, Graham, and Christian, obviously we spend a lot of time on the race weekends talking about what our issues are, where we think the problems lie, and what we're not able to do with the car. I would say right now, when I look at my performance, I think what's hurting me the most is probably expectation of what the car should be able to do, but isn't doing. And then, I'm pushing the car past its current limits, and it's producing a slower lap time. I think in some ways, for Christian, having never driven a car before, he doesn't know good or bad. Obviously he's a very talented driver and he understands when he's got a good car underneath him and stuff like that. But, I think Graham's knows this car. He understands what it can and can't do as much. And, I guess in a lot of ways, struggling to adapt to the car because in my mind, knowing how good we've been in qualifying and things like that, know what the car should be capable of doing. And, we're not there. And, I'm finding it hard to underdrive, but to go quicker because I just have this expectation of what the car should do. And I think between the three of us, we have a very similar feel. I think we want the same things from the car. I think what's hurting us the most actually right now, or one of the things that's hurting us the most, we don't unload with a good baseline car. So then you get at a crossroad immediately. Do you just try and make what you have better, but it's, didn't start very well. So how do you move it better? Or do you just jump ship and try another setup, in which case, if it doesn't work, then you've lost a session, and right now there's only 2 practice sessions. So you don't know you're in trouble till you've done one of them, and the second one, obviously you need to learn as much as you can ready for qualifying. And I think what hasn't been helping us is actually jumping around and trying a lot of different setups throughout the weekend, because then you don't have any flow. There's no way to kind of progress in a normal, nice, methodical way. You just really have to try something big just to get a reaction from the car. And I think that's been confusing for me is that, we make some of these really big changes and it actually doesn't really do that much different. And I know that I think most people have seen that, we can usually qualify very well. I think managing the tires in the race has been something that I was trying to work on in the off season, but also last year, we did have a decent amount of strategy mishaps, so in that moment, I'm like, okay, guys, like I know what I want from the qualifying car, I know what I want from the race car. Let's just try and figure out how we get it. And, certainly the team performance has been a shock and a surprise to everybody involved. And, no one obviously is happy about it. It's just, this stage of the year and whatnot, like everything's under a microscope, everything's got the magnifying glass on it. And, you're looking at the car driving, just the general team performance, from, top to bottom. It's in all fairness, I mean, it's not a huge amount of fun, having to have that microscope out all the time. But I think obviously we will fix these problems, but we've got to fix them in a smart way, to have steady success for the long term. So it's been a trying year, mate, to be honest with you.
Well, and look, bottom line is you've been at this long enough, it's like cyclical. Eventually, even though you're in the longest damn tunnel in the world, you will see the light at the end of the tunnel and it'll swing the pendulum the other way. But yet for you, the choices that you alone made to join, how much, shall I say, patience has that extracted out of you as basically, with all due respect to Christian, the newest member of the team? I'm going to give you that because of the way Lungaard came on board. How much patience does that require from you? And I just wonder, moments of self-doubt that, did I make the right decision? Or can you see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, I mean, the thing I've had to learn throughout this year is actually just to accept where we are. Because clearly this isn't what I came for. This isn't what the selling points were, to try and come and, progress my career and stuff. However, when we made that decision, it was with a bigger view in mind. It was never just a, 1-year deal or anything like that. And just a conversation that I'd had with, Piers Phillips, president of Rahal, Letterman, Lannigan Racing, but also Mike Lannigan himself, Bobby Rahal himself. They were people that I believed in because I believe in their hunger, their dedication and commitment to being good at the highest level of IndyCar racing because of what they personally want to achieve. So it has been a tough start to the year, no doubt about it. And obviously, decent level of acceptance had to be required on my part because I thought I was coming into something a little different than what we actually have. That being said, there is light at the end of the tunnel. We have to fix it. I mean, as a very successful race team, they're not a new team. It's very established. All these reasons why in the end I came. Not that the new factory makes you a better race team, but it does show the commitment that they have to racing, at the top level. So there definitely is light at the end of the tunnel. I haven't even, as you said, when you're going through the darkest moment, the thought has never spent long in my mind that did we get this wrong? Because ultimately I would never let myself think that we're here. We made that decision. And, the stubborn part of me is going to make sure it was the right decision so that, my career can carry on. And, all that takes right now, unfortunately, and this is the conversation we've all been having as a team, it takes a lot of effort. It takes enthusiasm. It takes positivity. It takes reality, accepting where we are. But it takes those things I mentioned before with very intentional work to get out of it. And, at this moment, you not cling to, that's maybe a strong way. But when we're talking, the thing you have to look at is the light at the end of the tunnel. And that feeling of having success together from where we are now, I can't even imagine that level of satisfaction and whatnot. So definitely light at the end of the tunnel. A lot to work through right now. It's taken some mental acceptance, but definitely not doubting that we made the wrong decision.
Hey, listen, here's the plus. Here's the gold inside that dark cloud. You have now become the face of a major grocery and discount chain nationwide. And I got to tell you, those black cars, it's like a Batmobile when you see it on TV.
Yeah, that's cool.
The relationship with the sponsor, though, because this is their real true first venture into this sport, and to make you their face and their name and their delivery system for what they're trying to accomplish, at least that's got to provide you with a little bit of the day-to-day distraction, because you can get onto the marketing side and maybe have a little fun there.
Oh, Harvey have been amazing to work with. I really have enjoyed everybody that I've met with them. I would say, as a sponsor goes, you literally couldn't hope for anything better. Everything they say they're going to do, they do, and they do it even in a bigger way. And obviously, I'm excited when Harvey comes to Indianapolis, but I've been spending a lot more time in Iowa and Des Moines and whatnot, and just seeing all of their stores. And you walk in and it's just like the 45 Hy-Vee Honda car display everywhere. They're great people. Their activation is just absolutely out of this world. The team are obviously aware of it as well. Me too. We just want to get better results for them, because if we get better results and we can get back to challenging good results in qualifying and hopefully wins and podiums in the race. Could you imagine what they're going to be able to do with that? Right now they're making the most out of what has been some bad results. So if we can give them some good results, you just can't help but feel like it might be even bigger.
Well, and then you could take your apron off and stop bagging groceries and taking them out and loading them in customers' cars, because you won't need that side hustle anymore.
I know. Yeah, this is it. We need to get better results so I can ditch my side hustle, get back to just collecting Lego.
There you go. Hey, it's always a pleasure. There is no question in my mind that the pendulum will swing the other way. And for you being part of that team, never second guess it, because it was the right decision for Jack Harvey. And a lot of us are out here pulling for you, my friend.
Thank you.
Battle is on to turn 22. Ryley Music trying to get to that back bumper off of the corner. He's going to look to the inside. Down the back straightaway they come. He's within one car limit. Can't quite get to the back bumper of the 08. Tries to give it gas again to beat him off the corner. White flag is in the air.
Coming your way after the break, you'll meet a NASCAR short track hero when we bring you this week's Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap.
Hey, car lovers. At Advance Auto Parts, we have what you need to keep your car running all season long. So if you enjoy getting ahead of the curve when it comes to taking care of your ride, Advance Auto Parts has everything to keep your ride on track to reach the victory lap. Because you can trust the team at Advance Auto Parts to assist you in finding what you need at the right price. Stop by Advance Auto Parts, where you're always number one.
We just need the opportunities. Today proved it. Yeah, it's a short track, but it's still damn hard to win here, and we did it.
They are hometown heroes, drivers who put their passion on the line in front of their friends.
Here we go, 3 wide, got Sellers up in the marble. Halfway home in this one. Off turn 4, he heads for the checkered flag.
Here comes Riggs. Riggs is back at it on the inside.
Buckle up and hold on tight.
Time now to focus the spotlight on hometown heroes with this week's Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap. Brought to you by the NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series, driving local racing in local communities forward.
Ryley Music, Doug Moore, we're waiting on the start. It is now out. We are racing it out. The green flag is in the air. Ryley Music, Doug Moore, side by side in 1 and 2.
Bill makes his way through turn 22. Ryley Music quickly jumps out to the lead. That's going to put Doug Warren in second, followed by a Sutton, followed by the third spot, which will be Andrew Conroy in the 38.
There's your leader, Ryley Music. Ryley Music, your race leader. It is Ryley Music who's in command of this race.
Here's your host, Jack Harvey.
Well, taking a victory lap is a young man that has been on a tear in 2022 at Larry Law's Langley Speedway. He's won 5 limited late model races. And just this past weekend, a couple of twin 35s, started on the pole in the first one, but got beat by, well, one of them, I think you got beat by your uncle, right, Ryley?
In the second one, yeah. He rode around in the first one to save his tires, and he just had a better shot than me from the go.
This is Ryley Music, who joins us to take a victory lap here on Wind Tunnel. At age 14, Ryley, you've got the rookie stripes on the back of your limited late model, but you have tons of experience at Langley, several championships in the Bandolero class. And you know what we used to call young men like you? Track brats, because you grew up around racing all the way back to your grandfather, shall I say, a legend. Tell me a little about how you got attracted to the game the way that you are now, pursuing a career like your grandpa's.
So it really started, well, it's hard to say. He worked for Doug Gotze, and he was keeping all Doug Gotze stuff up, and that stayed right next door in the shop my car's in. Right where my car sat was where Doug Gotze stuff sat. So he worked on that when I was growing up, and then he went away and did some stuff with Rev for Daniel Suarez and all that. And about that time, Chris Florian came over with the go-kart and said, if y'all want to race, here it is. If y'all don't race, it just sits here. So we got a free go-kart to start out with, and it really just started off from there. And we raced with that for a couple years, and we got the Bandolero. And he said, that's when I really started to learn everything. My parents said, it's not just going to be your grandfather working on it. If you don't work on it, you don't race. So that's really where I really got tight with racing. And then I helped Brendan out for a couple. I'm still helping Brendan out, but I go over there and help at the shop and just learn as much as I can.
You possess an abiding passion to make it to the big time. He's a little bit ahead of you, but what is some of the best advice that old Butterbean?
Some of the best advice. Really, he just be easy, like be smooth and be easy, which that's something Granddad's always taught him too. So really everything he's taught me, Granddad's taught him and taught me both the same way. So And it's really, we both get all our advice from Granddad.
What's it mean to you to have that sort of relationship with your grandpa?
It's huge because I sit around and just ask him a lot. How was this year when you raced, or what was this all like? I just ask him questions like that, just trying to have a conversation and learn some stuff from back in the day. So it's really cool to have that special of a relationship with my grandfather, and learning his racing background is really cool to me.
Well, he is definitely old school too, because one of the first things that he insisted that you do is not only work on what you do turning left at the racetrack, but getting to understand everything about the car that you're driving. How enjoyable has that been, A, and B, how intimidating was it in the beginning?
So really, I enjoy working in the shop a lot. A lot of people don't enjoy it, but it's like when I work at the Queens, me and Brendan always have a good time. When I come home and work at our shop, me, Granddad, and Sean Malbeck, we always joke around and have fun while we work on the car. So it's always just about having fun. And I'll tell you, working in the shop is what makes half of the fun.
And just for you, how much, not only how much fun was it, but, how much was it like drinking out of a fire hydrant to begin with, where he had to get all this knowledge real quick because you have shot up the ladder. Bandoleros to limited late models is quite the jump, young man.
It's a huge jump, but really how I feel like how I progressed real quick, and I will give a little bit to iRacing. iRacing helps you learn a lot of that, but mostly just I go to the racetrack every week. It doesn't matter what racetrack it is, if it's Langley, if it's Dominion, I'm always at a racetrack. But I sit there and I watch and I listen to the conversations that are had just so I can learn what I could do better. Like me and Brendan, we'll go to a test day. Granddad will go watch 3 and 4, and I'll go watch 1 and 2, and I can tell you what I see from the race car. And Brendan is telling me what he feels, and I'm seeing the exact same thing.
So at this point in your career, rookie season and limited late models, you're a proven winner there. Do you have a timetable, Ryley, for what the next step would be in your racing career at the ripe old age of 14?
I don't really have no plans. I really am just going along with the flow, really. So if something happens and I get to race a couple late model races this year or next year, it'll be cool. I'm hoping I can get sponsorship and go race Carteret for the 10 grand to win in December. But it's just rolling with the flow right now. Whatever happens, happens. I'm just here to have a good time.
You're in a heartland for short track racing there in the Virginia area. You mentioned Dominion, a little further north from Langley, and, so many great racers that are coming out of there, South Boston, et cetera. Is there one short track driver that you try to pattern your style after?
My grandfather, completely after my grandfather.
And I find that interesting because, as I understand it, your granddad had all but hung up his helmet before you were born.
He quit 3 years before I was born, but I've only got to see him drive a race car once, and that was 2013, so about 9 years ago. That was the only time I got to see him drive a race car, and he raced Mark Wert's car one time, and I think I watched that. That was those were the only 2 times I've seen him drive a race car.
How special is it to have that kind of relationship with your grandpa? It's just, to me, Langley, especially the limited sportsman series, seems to be a family affair. And then you bring the Queens into it, and your granddad calling the shots over there. And Brendan is just nonstop praising what he's learned from your granddad. Having family and friends surrounding you throughout your racing career, that takes a special attitude, because I've always said it's one thing to go, compete at a racetrack, like, let's say, in trucks or Xfinity or even in Cup, but it's another thing to do it each and every week in front of your friends and family. And that's what short track racers such as yourself or Butterbean do each and every week. And I would think that takes a special relationship, that the people that are cheering you on are also, kids and guys you're going to school with or going out and working on a race car with. I mean, this is your extended family there.
It really is. Like, it's crazy because I'm racing against 2 family members, Craig and Doug, my uncle and cousin, and then hopefully I get to race with Brendan. So, but like that whole family, we treat each other like family. Like, I go over there and I feel like I'm right at home with them because Robin and Mike Queen, they just treat me like family. Everybody over there.
All right. So I would think 2 youngsters such as you and Brendan have probably had a little fun now and again, not only comparing notes, but challenging each other. So, tell me a little bit about some of the smack talk. Do you remind him that when you finally move up to the late models, you're going to kick his fanny?
No, not really. Because I talked before I moved up to the limit. I talked a lot of trash because he said, "Oh, it's hot in the car and everything." And I'm like, "Oh, it can't be that bad." I get in the car and I'm like, "Dang, I'm sorry for all them years I joked around with you." But we don't really have competitive talks. We just talk about what happened over the weekend. We look forward to racing against each other more than less, but there's not really much smack. But like, we also do a lot of competitive stuff. Like, we try hitting golf balls the farthest at the shop, just messing around.
All right, who's got the edge going into the 4th of July in terms of the longest drive?
I think I hit it the farthest.
All right, I'm going to call him and find out, see if he backs you up. You know that.
He might have hit it farther. I don't remember exactly. But I think I hit it the farthest.
Listen, we wish you nothing but the very best. I know you've set your sights on the Advanced Auto Parts NASCAR Weekly Racing Series title in the limited late models at Langley. And you mentioned that $10,000 to win championship race you want to go after. You want to put a shout out to some of my listeners that maybe would like to support you in that effort. Where can they go to pledge a little moolah to get Ryley Music set up to go after that 10K?
So they could go follow my Instagram at Ryley Music Racing or my Facebook, which is also at Ryley Music Racing. Really simple, just my name and then racing. So try and keep everything simple.
Well, Ryley, you do a great job at it. I thoroughly enjoy watching you on Flow Racing and watching the way that you have honed your racecraft at such an early age. And yeah, all right, your uncle may have beat you in the second one because he held back a little bit, but you know what? Don't get mad. Just get even. Win twice as many. Thanks so much for joining me here inside the wind tunnel today.
Thank you for having me on.
You've been listening to the Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap, brought to you by the NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series, driving local racing in local communities forward.
Hey, car lovers. At Advance Auto Parts, we have what you need to keep your car running all season long. So if you enjoy getting ahead of the curve when it comes to taking care of your ride, Advance Auto Parts has everything to keep your ride on track to reach the victory lap. Because you can trust the team at Advance Auto Parts to assist you in finding what you need at the right price. Stop by Advance Auto Parts, where you're always number one.
This is how we advance.
Next up on Wind Tunnel,
Joey Logano leads Kyle Busch by 2-3 car lengths to the checkered flag.
He captured the first ever Busch Light Clash at the Coliseum all the way back in February and has taken additional Cup wins at Darlington and Gateway. Team Penske's Joey Logano drops in next.
Hey, car lovers. At Advance Auto Parts, we have what you need to keep your car running all season long. So if you enjoy getting ahead of the curve when it comes to taking care of your ride, Advance Auto Parts has everything to keep your ride on track to reach the victory lap. Because you can trust the team at Advance Auto Parts to assist you in finding what you need at the right price. Stop by Advance Auto Parts, where you're always number one.
This is how we advance.
Logano well out front of Kyle Busch.
Joey Logano. Those two were going for it.
Off turn 4, Joey Logano.
Yeah. Nice job, dude.
The Penske Ford Mustang, a winner in St. Louis.
Louisiana, baby!
They used to call him sliced bread when he joined Cup as a teenager and started to challenge the established veterans. Now, Joey Logano is one of those established veterans and seems especially effective at winning on first-time venues, like he did last season on the Bristol Dirt, and again this year at the LA Memorial Coliseum, and of course, most recently at Gateway. He joins me now here inside the wind tunnel. All right, Logano, what is it with you and new venues?
I don't know what it is about the new tracks. It just seems like my ability to go out there and pick up on something fairly quickly is a strength of mine. I think it's also a strength of our race team, and it kind of plays together really well. Whether that's, like you said, dirt tracks, Clash, Gateway, you name it, they just seems to be something we can pick up quickly. Now, as you give everyone more time on the tracks, they close that gap very, very fast, like every lap. It's almost like we go to these new racetracks and I hope for no practice. I'm like, let's just unload on a new track with no practice. And for whatever reason, Paul does a good job at guessing, because that's what it is. It's guessing what the car is going to need. And then, I'm able to adapt quickly and make speed fairly quickly. And we've been able to capitalize on those strengths here recently. So bring on the new tracks, bring them on, whatever you got, bring them on. Let's go. We'll go to Stafford next.
You brought up a point, practice versus no practice, Iverson versus, a regular NBA season. There are some drivers like you that seem to thrive with a limited amount of practice. And I think you may have honed in on one of the pluses you have. And that's the people that back you and can do the necessary sim work. But from your standpoint, you were brought up where, hell, you'd start practicing before you even got to the racetrack and not on a simulator. You'd be spending Mondays and Tuesdays at some obscure track trying to get the data that you need, and that's not available anymore. So how have you had to adjust your racecraft?
It's definitely changed. You're not in the race car as much as you used to be. Like you said, we used to be, even if we didn't test during the week, we were at the racetrack Friday, Saturday, Sunday, making laps. It's not like, we're going to Atlanta this weekend. I'm going to qualify. That's it. And I'm going to run 500 miles. Like that is it. So, or 400 miles, but like that's all there is. You go to Road America last week, 4-mile racetrack, takes 2 minutes and 20-ish seconds to go around this place. And you got 15 minutes. Like, tell me how much you're going to learn in those moments. The driver's got to figure out where the heck he's going before you can adjust on the car, and it takes a long time to go around it. So, as you can imagine, it's definitely brought on a big challenge for everybody. The bottom line is it's the same for everybody, so it doesn't matter. If someone was getting more laps than the next guy, that would be a problem. But it doesn't matter because everyone's getting the same amount. But you do want to find ways to be in the car or to drive something. I don't care what it is at this point. I got a Legends car. I drive the Legends car around. I have fun with it. My son's got a little outlaw cart. He runs up here in Mooresville, and I bring the Legends car with him. I just drive around because I just want to drive. I drove the Legends car in my backyard the other day. I don't know. It didn't make any sense, but I did it and it was fun. But I think driving things is important just to keep your, like you said, your racecraft fresh.
All right. You brought up the fact that no longer are you just some single teenager that, is trying to peddle his wares and get the big break with the help of your family, to where now I am sure, Joey, that you have found yourself saying something to your kids that your mom or your dad said to you. And when it comes out of your mouth, you go, oh my God, what have I just done?
I think this is something everyone can relate to. When you're like a teenager, you're the smartest person in the room. I mean, you're a teenager. You obviously know everything. And then you realize as you get older how stupid you are. And then now you got to reset. And now there's a lot of things I say to my kids, and I see it already. That, and the other thing is too, is that, I remember growing up, my dad, he's very animated, right? He's very, in your face. I'll give you straightforward. And I'm watching Hudson's my oldest son. He's 4. And I watch him just, he's out there making laps, or he's running his little BMX bike, and I'm out there yelling and screaming and rooting him on, and it's like, oh no, I'm here already. Like,
being the family man, though, it has changed, I think, your worldview, and more specifically, your career view. Has it made you a better race car driver?
I think in ways it does. It definitely changes you, right? As soon as you have kids, you're changed forever. And I think in good ways. It definitely adds stuff to your plate, but it also adds a lot of perspective on what is important and why you do things. And it's maybe a lot more compassionate towards members on my team, to fans. It's maybe a lot, I say a new perspective and more open to seeing some of that stuff, but it hasn't taken any of the fire away to win, because you want to win even more for your kids. Like when my kids are there, man, I want to win so bad to have them in victory lane with me. Like that is the coolest feeling, to celebrate with your whole family and your kids, to have that memory of, I went to victory lane with dad in a cup race. That's a big deal. Like it's really hard to do. It's special, but you want to have that memory, those pictures, and it just kind of adds more to that fire and want and desire to go out there and make it happen.
Joey, throughout your career, you've had, and I'll paraphrase Dickens, the best of times and the worst of times. Don't want to spend a lot of time on that. But what I do want to focus in on is how your philosophy's changed. You now are someone that's not afraid to speak out, and also not afraid to defend the way you race. And I don't think aggressive might be the right word to describe it, but I have always loved, and I forget when I first heard it from you, look, I am paid to go out there and race this car. And it reminds me of the late, great Ted Christopher's comment, if you want to make friends, go enroll in summer camp. Your job and where you get your check is from Team Penske to do exactly what you do. And it strikes me, it's a fine line, but only the driver knows when he's going to cross that line.
Yeah, it's a line that you have to keep in mind all the time, because there's always tomorrow. You will race tomorrow. There will be repercussions. So you have to keep all the stuff in mind on how you do things, and be willing to the rule everyone that I think is the most clear and most honest is race somebody the way they race you, right? And so you kind of keep that in mind of, he's gonna race me this way, I'm going the same direction. And that's the way I've done it for the last 10 years or so. And I feel very comfortable with that. And I'm okay with the back and forth. Like that's where I'm at. But to take it to the next level, right? You say like, hey, I'm out there to do what my job is, but I'm also a big piece of the bonus structure for everybody. And I've realized this really when we won the championship, how big of an impact that was on everybody's families, on hundreds of families, like to the point of perspective and kids and all that. This is one that really got me, is understanding what that championship meant, not to just the immediate, race team that travels with us. It was hundreds of families at Team Penske, at Roush Yates building our engines, at Pennzoil and Shell, at Ford. Like it just kept going. And I kept visiting these places as this little victory tour, and I was seeing the impact it made on everybody. I was like, holy cow. Like that, and a lot of that, right? I mean, it takes a huge team to make it happen, but eventually the guy holding the steering wheel has to do the right thing to win the race. And they're all looking at me to make sure I do my job in the final laps of a race. And that to me changed my perspective so much, where I'm not doing it for me anymore. I'm doing it for countless others, because the impact is so much deeper than I ever saw it was.
I want to step away from the specifics of racing for just a second, because there's two things that have become well, side hustle's the wrong word, but away from the track passions. Let's start with your car collection and specifically your infatuation with Fords and Mustangs and all of this. I mean, why is it that race car drivers, like when I visited with Ryan Newman at Stafford, you know, he was telling me about all the different cars and my God, what he has to spend just to house them all. You've got the same thing, but you are neck deep in restoration of cars, and the one that I love is that rat rod that you like to tool around in. Where did all that start to unfold in your career?
Well, if you're going to be a race car driver, obviously you're a car guy,
right?
Mostly. I wouldn't say all of them are. Surprisingly, not all of them are, but there's a good majority that are they're car people. And I love antique cars. I love hot rods, something unique. And I wouldn't call it a side hustle because I can promise you one thing, I ain't making no money doing it. But it's pretty fun to do at least. And I enjoy driving something different. I enjoy driving something challenging. Those things it's a hobby. It's fun for me. You know, I love throwing the kids in there and go get ice cream. You know, like that's fun. And so, you know, I have a bit of a car problem. And yeah, that's kind of how it works. I don't know how much more to add to this.
That's a great way of putting it. You have a bit of a car problem.
Well, but I also think like the memories to cars. Like we started the carography series that we've done a lot on my social and Pennzoil social, and you know, the stories behind the cars is what sometimes to me is the most special, right? Not just the story of how this car is designed and built and how much power it's got. Okay, cool. But what's the personal story? That to me is the most special thing. You know, I built this with my dad, or this is my grandfather's car. You know, those memories that come rushing back to you when you drive something, right? The smells, the sounds, your senses. When you drive an antique car, it all comes back to you. And I think that's what's the most special about these types of cars, right? Is that it's the fun level, it's the memories. You know, I got an old car that I grew up with my dad. You know, I remember he let me sit in the passenger seat and let me grab gears. And now my son sits in the passenger seat, he grabs the gears. And it's just like, yeah, that is like the cool. To me, that is the coolest. And I think a lot of people probably agree with that, right? If they have a car like that, lucky enough to have a car like that you remember sitting in the garage when you were a kid, or grandpa's garage, or whatever, right? It's just cool.
And finally, while a lot of your peers dabbled in race team ownership, you made a decision away from what you and your bride have done such a tremendous job with your charitable foundation. You decided to focus on the production side of the sport. And what I mean by that, a lot of your fans probably don't realize how heavily invested you are in television and production facilities for social media, et cetera, to the point where a lot of the major networks covering the sport contract with you and your business to provide us with a lot of the great visuals. How did that come along? I mean, did someone try to sell you on it, or are you such a damn visionary that you saw that this was going to be the future?
I saw opportunity. And you know, I think when you look at Clutch Studios, we started 5-6 years ago now. And I did so many shoots throughout the year, right? For Pennzoil, for Ford, for, you know, all for Home Depot a long time ago, right? I did so many of these things year after year. And it just seemed like we could do a lot better. Like, I mean, it just seemed like, okay, these go okay, but I think we can have a nicer facility. You know, we're bringing people that spend millions and millions of dollars to a mediocre facility, right? And giving them okay food and like just little things like that. Like, let's make it to where it looks like, and we treat them like they're spending millions of dollars putting their name on our race car, right? Let's do that first. And then so I had a building that it was my toy box where I kept all my cool cars, and that got wiped right out of there. And now that's Clutch Studios, where we have a huge psych wall now. And all the stuff that's come along with it, right? All the production type things, right? That come along, the sound, the equipment, the the green screens, all of the stuff that just keeps kind of growing as you're there, and you got a second studio that goes along with it now. And a lot of the good things that, like I said, we saw it from the business side of how we can treat people better, but then you start seeing it from the content side and say, how can we make it more, exciting and, more attractive, and, people want to click on it, and those type of things. And so we do a couple different things. We do the whole production. You can just rent the facility, and kind of go along with that. So it's been fun to kind of see that. Obviously, the NASCAR market was where we kind of had an in. So we kind of had business before we even started it. So that part was helpful. But now it's just kind of grown into so many different things that come in there, and cool people. Right. I mean, you brought up Allen Iverson earlier. He's been in there like 3 or 4 times. He lives just right down the road here. So it's kind of cool to see the people that are in there. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of neat. Come out well.
Well, it's very impressive. Makes you a media mogul.
I don't know about all. I think I'm a mogul, but I'm growing.
Yeah. Well, you'll grow into it. Listen, continued success. Those of us that have followed your career all the way from Silver City, all the way to Cup level, just enjoy not only when you win, but also the impact you're having on the sport. And I personally appreciate your carving some time out today to get into this wild and wacky CGI created wind tunnel as part of my my guest list for this episode. Continued success, and thanks a lot, Joey.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Have fun.
I'll wrap up this week right after this.
Hey, car lovers. At Advance Auto Parts, we have what you need to keep your car running all season long. So if you enjoy getting ahead of the curve when it comes to taking care of your ride, Advance Auto Parts has everything to keep your ride on track to reach the victory lap. Because you can trust the team at Advance Auto Parts to assist you in finding what you need at the right price. Stop by Advance Auto Parts, where you're always number one.
This is how we advance.
We've come to the end of yet another Wind Tunnel episode, and I truly hope that it met your expectations, and of course that you will return next week. My thanks to Ryley Music, Jack Harvey, and Joey Logano for their time and their stories today. Paraphrasing Arnold Schwarzenegger in his cinema hit Terminator, I'm Jack Arute, and like Arnold, I'll be back. So long, everyone.
You've been listening to the Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap, brought to you by the NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series, driving local racing in local communities forward.